Crystal for the community, a journey in the Brazilian community. This presentation will not be technical, but it will provide a perspective on the use of Crystal and what my experiences have been like with the Crystal Brazilian community. So, first of all, I'll introduce myself. I am Augusto, aka João Lanjoni, currently a computer technician and future Bachelor of Science in Information Systems from the Federal Institute of São Paulo. Currently work as a software engineer at Nimble, and I am an open source enthusiast, Unix lover, member of Heart Developers Community, which is a Brazilian community with the aim of democratizing access to education in Brazil, and today a Brazilian ambassador for the Crystal programming language. And you can find me on social media as Lanjoni, Guto Lanjoni or Augusto. And for more information, please visit my personal website or my blog. It's blog.lanjoni.dev. First of all, let's start this presentation by telling you a little about how I started with Crystal and when my first contact occurred and what the experience was like. So the beginning of everything. And it was 2021. In the middle of the pandemics, I was still in my last year of high school studying Ruby, and one day through a video and a live stream on Twitch, I met Crystal while researching a little about Ruby. In the presentations, basic concepts of Crystal were demonstrated, such as the feature of being compiled and typed, leaving Ruby's dynamicity aside. Thus, I ended up becoming even more interested in how the language works and how it was applicable. Then my journey began. Since my first contact with Crystal programming language, I have been interested in starting new projects with Crystal and starting to contribute even more to the entire ecosystem. The Crystal community in Brazil was still growing, so there wasn't much Crystal content in Portuguese, and that was a problem. And the first big project with Crystal that I participated in Brazilian community made me closer to what recognition as a Brazilian ambassador would mean. So, at this point, I want to draw your attention to better illustrate what an ambassador is from a general perspective, where they live and what they do. Well, in a general context, ambassadors are people who represent a brand or a company whose objective is to promote the image of that particular company or brand, whether by production general content getting even closer to the community. So, today, my role as ambassador for the Crystal programming language is to further evangelize about its use, spreading educational and interactive content to everyone who wants to learn a little more about the language. Today, I end up producing content such as articles in English and Portuguese, videos mostly in Portuguese, publications, and general presentations. So, well, a question that many people ask me is, how did I manage to be recognized as an ambassador for the Crystal programming language? Well, the answer is quite simple: building something from the community to the community, building from the community for the community. Okay, and the project is For Noobs. For Noobs was the project that opened the doors for me to become one of the ambassadors of the Crystal programming language with the use of the Crystal for Noobs project. Basically, For Noobs projects are introductory guides for various technologies, such as programming language, frameworks, tools, among others. And my mainly objective here is to produce a roadmap, an introductory roadmap to the Crystal programming language, mostly in Portuguese. So, Crystal for Noobs is a complete roadmap for an introduction to the Crystal programming language, written entirely in Portuguese, with the support and collaboration of Hearts developers community. This project is an incredible contribution that has helped many people begin their studies with Crystal, and I'm very happy with the results of this project. So, after the publication and dissemination of this project, the best happened, and yes, that is exactly what you are thinking. After the publication of the guide, and the traction on the official Crystal forum, I managed to become one of the Crystal's ambassadors. And I can tell you, during this presentation, we will realize that my experience has been absolutely amazing as a Crystal ambassador. So, these are two pictures, and the first picture is the post on the Crystal forum, and the second picture is the mail which I received from MECLA, saying welcome to the ambassador program. Okay. Well, this was the first impulse to start producing even more content about Crystal programming language, serving as fuel and motivation for the next projects. And we had the beginning of this journey as a Brazilian ambassador for Crystal in Brazil. And my first official presentation talk about Crystal took place at the COTESE, the Information Technology and Systems Congress in May 2023. And in this specific presentation, I introduced how the Crystal programming language works, showing in practice several concepts related to its general use. These are two pictures in the start of my presentation, and the specific points that made me think think which Crystal is a good programming language to begin for teaching. So as a conference took place at the university, I was able to observe some important points about the use of Crystal. And the specific points that made me think this were: the language is compiled, bringing the possibility of generating executable file suitable for everyday use. Being objective-oriented is an additional point that is extremely useful for demonstrating to students. Integration with libc allows you use of all of these features of C without without the needed of write code in C. Type inference is an excellent concept to discuss with students, demonstrating real use, and LavinMQ is an interesting point to discuss with students. So at this point, I can say that Crystal is a good programming language to get started and a good programming language for teaching. Shortly after this presentation, I had the honor of presenting within the community that supported me so much in the Crystal for Noobs project. So making it my first online presentation about Crystal. And at Heartspace and Heart Developers community, I also gave a Crystal presentation demonstrating crucial concepts that make development with Crystal even more interesting. The first major project with Crystal that was not a guide but a tool for use during development occurred shortly after. And today, this repository is on GitHub, and the project itself was a Crystal driver for the NoSQL database ScyllaDB, starting to delve into some specific features that this NoSQL database could provide, and aims to serve as a basis for development of applications that use Crystal and ScyllaDB. This repository is on my personal account, so you can access at github.com/Lanjoni/ScyllaDB Crystal driver. And in-person events are amazing, so I couldn't miss the opportunity to participate and visualize more about Crystal. And let's go through these events that happened from July of this year, and July, August, September, and this month of October. And the first of the events was RoadSec 2023. And RoadSec was a technology event focused on the security area, whether for building applications, the DevSecOps area, or other areas that in some way tend to bring information security concepts. And I participated in it, evangelizing a little bit about Crystal. Campus Party Brazil 15, which I participated in throughout the week and was able to promote even more about Crystal. Also distribution gifts to the Heart developers community, like stickers and badges, and this experience was amazing. In these two pictures you can see me and see my badge of Heart developers with my ID for Campus Party Brazil. Front in Sampa is an event focused on the front-end area, but it brings with it various presentations on an alternative stage, brings concepts not necessarily related to the front end. And in this picture presented, for example, I'm with the persons responsible from the CLDB space, talking exactly about Crystal, showing the driver project and still discussing it. Well, LatinoWare 2023 is the largest free software event in Latin America, bringing presentations for different areas that are in some way related to open source projects, making it an absurd experience for enthusiasts. At this event, I was able to discuss even more about the use of Crystal. And now, adding online events without taking into account the hard space mentioned above, we have a presentation about the Crystal ecosystem, demonstrating everything that the programming language can offer as a whole, in an event that necessarily talked about Elixir. The experience was amazing and it was an honor to participate. And this participation is recorded, okay? Well, now talking about open source projects that I was somehow able to contribute to the Crystal ecosystem, starting with Emacs LSP. If you have ever used Emacs, LSP mode seeks to bring native integration with the language server protocol of a given programming language, in this case any programming language which have LSP, having a real-time use. And this repository is on GitHub too. In this case, my contribution was to update the LSP mode of the Crystal programming language, in addition to presenting a complete guide on how you can configure your Emacs as an IDE for development with Crystal. In this case, the LSP for Crystal chosen is Crystalline. The second project is HackaCrawl, and HackaCrawl is a global testing tool with an emphasis on hackathon testing, sending an input for a certain command and expecting a certain output which can be applied to any programming language. And best of all, it is written entirely in Crystal. Yes, this repository is on my GitHub, my personal GitHub too. ChemizBot is a Twitch bot for checking comments in chat, being a very elegant interactive chatbot which I use myself in my daily life as a Twitch streamer. And if you are live streaming or you want a chatbot project to use, you can test this project. The ChemizBot is amazing. And now, talking a little bit about articles, and in this point we can discuss about this, but articles are interesting to talk about a certain technology in which we can write from different perspectives and publish in different places. And currently, most of my articles and the articles I read are on Dev 2, which is written in Ruby. And my last article was exactly to talk about the Crystal ecosystem as a whole. This article in question is in Portuguese because it was published at Art Developers personal page on Dev, but I already have articles in English too. So, and if you're interested in starting to write articles about Crystal, go ahead. Know that I'm one of the moderators of the Crystal tag on Dev, and I can boost your post and can check your post. I can read and divulgate your post. So go ahead and start writing more articles about Crystal. And at this point, after hearing about all of this, you must be asking yourself, okay, but what does it all mean? How important is all of this? Well, understand that more than talking about my journey itself, the real objective here is to demonstrate that everyone can make contributions to the development of the Crystal programming language in different ways, often directly in the ecosystem offered. The Brazilian community of Crystal has grown a lot, and I have been very happy with the results that have been achieved. Know that you can start contribution yourself, and if you want to, know that the time is now. You can go ahead and start in contributions. And understanding the applicability of Crystal is essential for your interaction in any way. So the community as a whole develops projects to which several people can begin to contribute in some way. Understand that the community is not only important when developing a tool or a functionality, but also for the development of a series of other factors, such as the recognition of and evaluation of the Crystal programming language. There are so many points, so many important points. And know that you can make a difference. After all, everyone is welcome and everyone can contribute. So go ahead, start your contributions, and start your personal projects, start your articles, start contribution to the Crystal ecosystem. And I'd like to say thank you very much. I hope you liked it, and that's it. Thank you, and bye bye.